Right. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long while now. About wokeness and quote unquote superhero media. And what because they just announced that Ironheart is coming out, the new spin-off of the Black Panther Wakanda Forever, where it has the girl that made the sort of not really Iron Man suit because it was her own thing, but just like she made her own technology, which emulates the idea of like who and what Iron Man was, and she's supposed to be getting a TV series, right? And then we got all these grifters and meth junkies like Nerdrotic, probably Synthetic Man, I'm assuming, making these videos, Geeks and Gamers, I'm sure, that sucker in the quartering, and then they're just pushing it in every advertisement that this is somehow woke, and this is somehow the difference from what superhero media is. And to even start with the dumbness of this conversation, first of all, woke does not mean black. Just because the character is black or Hispanic, a woman, or gay, does not mean that the material presented to you is woke. And notice none of these arguments are presented by older media that have made a mark on the landscape of comic book history, like John Stewart, Green Lantern, Virgil Hawkins, also known as Static Shock, never get this type of harassment and discouragement because these people are just grifting of the times. And one thing I wanted to do when talking about superhero media is talk about how various superheroes and villains represent a lot of heroes and villains of the real world. You see, most of these comic books were written by not necessarily minorities, but like I'm just gonna say it, leftist white people, or especially Jewish men with Captain America and I believe Superman as well, that were themselves the victim of persecution and and discrimination. So when these people, Stan Lee included, wrote these comic books, and even associated media like the Transformers and Star Wars and stuff, they wrote these media to criticize conservative politics. A very clear-cut and easy example is someone like Captain America, right? And a lot of people were mad because the new Captain America is black. That made it woke. But they forget that the people that Captain America were fighting in the first place were actual Nazis. Hydra is a Nazi organization and continues to exist, quote unquote, as a neo-Nazi organization. Most of Captain America's enemies, Red Skull, Von Strucker, are Nazis. A lot of Superman's enemies are Nazis. A lot of Batman's enemies are weird pseudo-libertarian recluses who are, incelic, and they view destruction of the world as an atonement for their lost love or their bad circumstances. The point being is that a lot of these people, Asmongold included, don't know what the hell they're talking about when they say media has gone woke. And they, as politics has moved forward, right, they deny their political allegiance and association with said enemies, right? And it's not just fascism that these medias criticize. What about people like Lex Luthor and Norman Osborn? Clear criticisms of the defense industry and capitalism, and how these defense contractors other people for the political and social gain. So America buys into their bullshit and buys more of their weaponry. And it gets even worse when you think about shows like The Boys or Invincible. Even the Transformers had episodes about, or at least a whole movie, because I'm sure Age of Extinction was implied to take place under the presidency of Donald Trump, where they were being hunted like they were animals. And the only place that they were allowed to live on, on the planet was places like Cuba. So I'm sure that was even written into modern Transformers movie, the abject discrimination and the othering of these beings who did nothing on Earth but come to protect us, the Autobots at least. But and that's not even mentioning characters like Circuit Breaker. But what I want to get across in this video is that when it comes to superhero media, if you actually read superhero media, you pay attention to the dialogue and the circumstances and developments of what's happening in said superhero media, you will clearly see that this stuff is, actually pretty woke. is pretty liberal and it's pretty left-leaning. And I will challenge any of these suckers, you know, Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic. I forgot the name of the black dude that made the comic book that bounced and didn't even go anywhere. And to try to tell me and convince me or their audience that comic books were never woke and comic books never criticize people with conservative political bents. Because the point of this media, despite all the kicking, punching, advanced technology, planetary travel, is to question society and ask us what would we do and how would we respond in given situations. And it also asks the questions of how can society be better. So it talks a lot about masculinity, and a number of subject matter is discussed throughout superhero media. And this also includes anime too. Because a lot of people, like I remember the guy, It's a Gundam, I saw a video about that sucker, where he was trying to say, maybe Yellow Flash said that too, I don't really remember. Like, oh, superhero media is so woke nowadays, so I just watch anime. Like, anime is even more openly outspoken about discrimination, even more so than I would dare even say American comic books are. Because artists are always outspoken about oppression and discrimination. So, yeah, this has been James with finally a new video. Sorry, it's a card video, but I'm going to try to get back in here on this YouTube junk. And if you have any questions, you want to link me a video proving me wrong, if you want to do like a Discord call debating me about it, not one where you're just going to scream the N-word, I'm available.